There we go. Yo, what is going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Series X podcast. I need to adjust my mic here a little bit. My apologies. A couple technical difficulties. I shut down OBS earlier today. And sometimes when you shut it down, if there's like an update or something like that, when it comes back up, I didn't have the proper audio kind of like inputs configured, but we are running on all cylinders right now. What is going on, chat? What is up? Good to see everybody. Yo, it's been a pretty big week when it comes to Xbox. I will say this show is gonna be heavily Xbox Series S related, and I'm really excited to bring this to you guys. All the information. We're gonna get into the look, the specs. Basically, who this console is made for, stuff like that. We're going to get into the rumors, what some of the developers have said about the Series S and why they are either right or wrong, but it is going to be a good show, guys. If you haven't done it yet, hit that thumbs up button. Let people know that you are here hanging out with me and my partner in crime, the elusive gamer, aka Jamie Moran. What is going on, bro?
Hey everyone, it's good to be here. We actually have hardware stuff to talk about, and the hangover's gone now, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, dude, I saw that tweet. I saw that tweet today, man. Did you had fun at the pub?
Yeah, 8 months of no pub, like it's not good. Like I think everyone's seen that scene in The Shining where he goes nuts. That was me for the past 8 months. But yeah, it was good. It was good. woke up with a bit of a headache, but yeah, I'm good to go.
Nice, man. Well, from what I hear, you are used to the whole headache slash hangover thing. I believe you were all set within 2 hours and ready to go today, man. Good to see that you got back to something you love as well, because with everything going on in the world, you weren't able to go hang out with your friends and do what you normally do, man. That had to feel so good, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like think about like everyone's been stuck in the house, so either been watching films, TV, YouTube or gaming, and this was something different. It was fresh because I'd normally go to the pub with my friends, like I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times a month,
Three,
depending on
four,
how many,
five.
depending on the occasion. But I live in the northeast. That's what we do.
It's
We drink like fish here.
it's the like national pastime up there. Like if you
Oh yeah.
if you're not going almost the majority of the week, you're a tourist. You're not from around here. You know what I'm saying?
I put it like this: when I was like in between 19 to 22, let's just say that most of the pubs in Durham knew my whole name and what I ordered and what time I'd be there. And we went hard. And not gonna lie, so most of the pubs still know our names. But still,
Pub crawling, man, from pub to pub, grabbing pints anywhere you go, man. It sounds like a lot of fun. But brother, are you ready to get in on the show today, man?
oh yeah, game on.
Nice, nice. Now, first off, unless you're a bit, first off, first and foremost, guys, if you haven't done it yet, hit that thumbs up button. Share this show out to all your Xbox gaming buddies. Let them know that there is a place, and this is important. There is a place where there is no console war drama on the show or in the chat. That we don't compare platforms, anything like that. It's just Xbox news, Xbox topics for you guys, the Xbox gamers. So let them know what's going on over here. Every Sunday, me and Jamie are here bringing you the Xbox news, and this is a big show. And the reason why is because of a leak, information leak, when it came to a certain Project Lockhart. I think first by Brad Sams, because I saw a lot of people using Brad Sams, his graphics. Mr. Sams put his name right in the middle of the graphic that unveiled the Series S. And because of that leak, Xbox, came out with the information. They came out with the price. They came out with the release date. They came out with the pre-order date. They went in and talked about the specs. They went all out on this. Not only that, they did bring share the release date and everything for the Series X as well as the price. But we got to talk about Project Lockhart first, aka the Series S. And I am pulling up a website now just to make sure I give you the proper specs on this thing, okay? So, we are looking at 1440p gaming up to 120 frames per second, ray tracing support, a 512 gigabyte SSD storage, no disk drive, so it's all digital, Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos gaming, which is, I guess it's exclusive to the Xbox consoles, in terms of the kind of like the quality sound and the HDR kind of like high detailed vision when it comes to Dolby Vision. But we are looking at an 8-core AMD Zen 2 CPU clocked at 3.6 gigahertz, 3.4 with SMT enabled. We have the RDNA 2 GPU, 20 compute units at 1.56 gigahertz. So basically, GPU powers about 4 T-flops. Custom system on a chip, 10 gigabytes of RAM, which is GDDR6. Again, the performance target being 1440p at 60 frames per second, but up to 120 frames per second. Again, the storage, the 512 gigabytes, stuff like that. So what we're looking at is a less powerful Xbox Series console. That's pretty much what we're looking at. And if you look at the price, the price definitely signifies that, because it is coming in at basically $300, $299 US, which I'm always going to round up to 300 because we're, with taxes and everything like that, we're going to go over 300. And I am getting the visuals up now for this, so this way everybody can check it out if you haven't done it yet. There we go. Now, as you watch the visuals, there is a certain look to the Series S. And of course, this year, last year, when consoles were unveiled, everybody started memeing them. So it is the smallest Xbox ever made, and it's basically a rectangle, but it has this big black circle on of course, the fan side, the vent side, and whatnot. So, Jamie, I gotta ask you first question, man, and we're gonna tackle the light stuff first, and we're gonna get deeper and deeper into it. Now, the Series S, aesthetically, in terms of the design and the look, I know you're out there on Twitter, you see a lot of things that happen out there. What do you think about the look of the Series S as well as the size? Because I think the size is a great point when it comes to this console. But what do you think about the look, and then what do you think about the size, brother?
I mean, the look of it, like people have been saying, it looks like a speaker, I mean, it doesn't really bother me, the whole black grill thing, but aesthetically, I like the look of it. This is clear. The design is clearly meant to just, set in your entertainment unit, or even like your spare room or your children's room or whatever. Like, this is clearly just in an entertainment box that's digital. And the size of it, like, I was shocked at how small it was. I was expecting it to be just slightly smaller than an Xbox One S, but like, it's literally like half, less than that. And there's videos going around online, and you can see how small it is. Like, this thing is so portable, you can put this in a backpack. Like, it's literally a portable like size. I wouldn't be surprised that as soon as this comes out, someone's going to mod a screen onto it, just because they'll turn it into an Xbox Series S Game Boy. But like, I'm shocked at the size, man. Like, the design was kind of expected, little rectangle box, but like, the fact it doesn't have bigger feet stands, it's literally just this little slab you put on your entertainment unit, and it's just a tiny box. Like, I'm shocked because the power that's inside it for what it's going to be doing in a box that small. Like, there are rumors going around that this box was actually quite a lot to produce, and this is the console that's the console Microsoft's taking the most losses on it. So it's like, it's clear that Microsoft is aiming for this to be a huge living room seller, because a lot of people are digital only now, and this is going to play your 4K, digital movies. It's going to play your backwards compatible catalog. It's clear that Microsoft either wants this to be your secondary, gaming room like thing, or your secondary console, because a lot of people will be buying Xboxes this holiday as secondary systems, and that happens for everything. But it's clear Microsoft has like gotten us out there to like
with this price point, I think we're gonna see that kind of like secondary system effect in full force, man. I saw people on Twitter that were talking about this thing as their secondary system. People that you would never think would even think about picking up an Xbox, and they're like, well, for that price right there, come on.
Yeah, and the thing is, the thing that shocked me most was actually the UK price, because normally if something's priced at, let's say, $299, sometimes a lot of the time in the UK we end up paying the same amount in like numbers, so it's like £299, which is like $350 or more. But no, Microsoft came out and said it's going to be £249. Like, that blew my mind.
Wow. Like,
it's literally less than an Xbox One S in most cases. And the fact that people can jump into the next generation, and we're probably going to be talking about the whole all access thing, but the fact that people can go to Game, which is a UK retailer, get an Xbox Series S plus 2 years Game Pass interest free. That's mind blowing.
Dude, that's insane right there. And that I think the big highlight of it was the price point. But when it comes down to it, looking at the specs, you're looking at less system memory. You're looking at, of course, a less powerful GPU. They're targeting 1440p, 60 frames, up to 120 frames. So in other words, don't expect 120 frames per second for every game that comes out, and you want to run it on the Series S. I will say I am very surprised when it comes to ray tracing and some of the features that are packed into this little thing for the price point. The ray tracing, and of course with the Velocity architecture, you have a bunch of other things in there. DirectX 12 Ultimate as basically the API, and you can really get in there and you can optimize for the system. So I gotta ask you, Jamie, dude, when it came to the specs, I think we were all thinking sub 4K, all that good stuff, but when you saw the specs, was there anything there that surprised you? Because I think this thing is incredibly powerful for the price point and the size, but anything spec wise that caught your eye? What did you think when you saw the specs, bro?
For the price, I'm impressed because you can't get that in a PC. Like, I put it like this: I just bought a new gaming PC about a month ago, still in the box, but I should really do something about that. That is on par with an Xbox Series X, sorry, an Xbox One X, barely, bear in mind, and that costs more than double of what the Series X does. So, as much as that annoys me, the fact that the Series S is an impressive box for the hardware. Yes, the backwards compatibility features aren't as enriched as the Series S, the Series X. But the thing is, you have to realize that this console is for two types of people: the hardcore that only care about frames. So if you don't really care about 1440p or 4K or whatever, this box is going to be for you. And this is literally a Fortnite / Call of Duty box. Think about it, there's millions of people that only buy 1, 2, or 3, 4 games a year. This is for them. They aren't going to be buying the high end next generation consoles. They don't game on PC. They game on consoles that are cheap, and this is that. And the fact that it's going to be doing 1440p and up to 120 frames per second, that's impressive. You literally, and we will sell YouTube channels try and make PCs on par with this. Trust me. People will look at this box, see the specs. They showed Assassin's Creed running at 60 frames. At least it looked like it was 60, but Assassin's Creed looked amazing, and that's going to be 1440p. So to me, it's an impressive console for what it can do and what its size is. Because again, the board in that thing is tiny. Yeah. The board in my laptop is bigger than the motherboard in that, and that just blows my mind.
Now, I gotta ask you, Jamie, when you see the specs, you see the hardware, was there anything that you were hoping for in terms of more? Was there I wouldn't say a disappointment, but was there something that you're like, man, I wish they beefed that up more or something like that when it comes to the Series S? Because I know I have one, but I'm kind of serving this up to you first. I don't want to say mine and then have you be like, you know what, you took mine. But is there something here that you thought they that you wanted them to improve on more? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I have one, and literally one, and to me, it's not a deal breaker. And after thinking about it, it kind of makes sense, but it is slightly disappointing, and that is the fact that I love 4K stuff, right? Okay. The Xbox One X got me into the door with 4K gaming, and it's hard to step back now. So with this smaller box, I assumed, silly on me, I assumed that everything that's currently enhanced on Xbox One X would work the same on Series S. So your 4K, let's say the 4K Witcher game, or the enhanced backwards compatible games.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was all just going to transfer over exactly like a One X, but the RAM being slower, or like having part of the RAM being slower, it can't do that. But the reason why I'm kind of over it now is because the people that are buying into this console didn't necessarily buy the enhanced consoles this generation because they don't care about resolution. So Microsoft side, it makes sense because they save money on that.
Mm-hmm.
On the gamer side of sense, like I know people that didn't buy an Xbox One X because they didn't care about resolution. So them not getting the enhanced backwards compatible games next generation on Series S isn't going to affect them.
Okay.
So, so to me, like it's like kind of a oh well, shrug moment. But again, at the end of the day, it's not going to affect me.
Yeah, no, I got you. Hold on one second. Just gotta just do one thing real quick, and then. All right. So, Jamie, I hear you on that, and we're gonna talk about that whole backwards compatible thing, and because out there are a lot of people that tried to find something wrong with this. The first 24 hours when they unveiled this thing, nobody had anything bad to say. It was incredible. Like kind of like the reaction on Twitter and all that good stuff. But then after 24 hours, people go in and they try to find different kind of like points to poke at and stuff. So we'll get into that. My thing is the 512 gigs on the SSD. I would want a little bit more. I know the price point is absolutely it's awesome. But there is a narrative out there that people are like, well, with that 512 gigabytes now, you're definitely gonna have to buy that proprietary, kind of like SSD card that that Xbox and Seagate are doing. I don't necessarily think it's that big of a deal because of like the compression techniques and because of what the console is doing in terms of like curbing down the size of games. But I still feel like 512, like that's a little on the low end, even though it's a $300 console. What do you think about that, man? SSD size? Do you hear what I'm saying, or am I completely wrong right now?
No, I mean the thing is about perception of storage. It's always been the same. We had different storage options last generation. In the hard drive speeds have gone down over the years to the point where they're super cheap. You can get a 2 terabyte one, which you can slap on your PC for less than £200 or whatever. But the thing is with these NVMe 4.0 like PCIe dot drives, like they are expensive. Like I'm looking at one on Amazon right now. It's almost £200 for 1 terabyte.
It's about right. That's
In the
about
console,
right.
in the console's 450, or should I say 250? It's like it's clear that storage is a big price factor when it comes to these consoles. And the 512 thing, yeah, you're gonna get Call of Duty and one update on it. I get it, right? But it's the unfortunate thing when it comes to consoles because like storage over time drops and it will continue to drop. But like, I can see them coming out in a year's time with a 1 terabyte version when it's cheaper. It's just the unfortunate thing about storage at the minute. It's that when you go for faster speeds, you pay more, and 512 isn't that much. But at the same time, is this console aimed at someone with 80 games? I don't think so.
That that is a great point right there, because there's a certain demographic that they're aiming at here, and it's definitely not the hardcore, the people who are out there buying games left and right year after year, developing their kind of like backlog that they always look back on, and some of the games they never get to. It's not really aimed at those, so I can definitely see your point on that. I don't me personally, and another thing is, if all this technology, when it comes to slimming down the size of the games, like if it even if it cuts it down by like say 30% of the size of the games that we've been seeing now, I mean that would be that would be a lot better, right? You know what I'm saying? You would definitely be able to get more games in there as well.
Yeah, and the thing is about this console, I think, considering we can have a traditional hard drive plugged in and we can use that as literal storage.
Mm.
I think this is going to be one of those things that if you buy the console cheap, and you have a current hard drive, you're literally just going to have to swap back games back and forth. Is it the best thing in the world and most handy? No, but like again, like storage sizes, it's just ridiculous. Like I almost bought, or I was looking for, you know, NVMe SSDs on PC, and I saw one for like £700.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no, no.
Nah,
I can.
it's crazy expensive right now. Yo, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Fun Speculation because Fun Speculation in the chat brought up a great point. Series S won't have 4K assets, so it will go further. Yeah, the 4K assets. Jamie, what do you think about the 4K assets when you're downloading a game? And like say on my One X, it downloads the 4K version, so it downloads the bigger version. That's a sizable difference in accordance to like I don't know the One S, that isn't downloading the 4K assets. So that's a great point right there, right, Jamie?
Over the past few days, like mulling over, like making videos and stuff about this, that never once occurred to me. um, he has a point. Fun Speculation has a point. You're not going to be downloading 4K assets, so, yeah, no, that's a good point. So whereas we have, some games on Xbox One X now where the upwards of 100 gig, they are nowhere near that on Xbox One S. So yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
You put that together with the technology that they have, like I said, to make sure that your downloads are smaller. You're not dealing with a mechanical drive. You don't have any redundant assets that you need, like kind of like saved in different spots on your mechanical drive, stuff like that. So they're doing away with all of that. Then what Fun Speculation said, it's not the 4K assets, so it's going to be even smaller than that. And I do think, Jamie, now, definitely respond to this, but I do think that, when it comes down to it, Xbox does want people that buy the Series S, they want them in on Game Pass. And what's the best thing to do when you're trying out Game Pass is download a bunch of games to try them out. So it's not, I don't think that, I know they're aiming for a certain demographic here, but
yeah,
they're also aiming to get people into Game Pass as well.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of content that's in Game Pass, a lot of people are going to be downloading a lot of games, and with this being essentially a Game Pass box, yeah, I mean, I look at it and think that's unfortunate, but I can also see with the rumors going about of the external cards, like I can be thinking, so that's how they're going to make some of that money back, because those aren't going to be cheap.
Well, all right. I did see that rumor. I saw kind of like the graphic for it and everything like that. But there were rumors as well that the Series X was going to be 600. Some people tried to start a rumor that it was going to be 700. The 600 came from different kind of like, I guess, partners and such. And that didn't turn out to be true either. So, like, why would people hang their hat on that, just over $200 mark when it comes to the SSD memory expansion cards?
I like the whole Pringles prices, what everyone was reaching for. Like,
I saw that GIF, by the way, on Twitter that he did.
Yeah, I mean, it was silly, like how people were like trying to find the price of it, but I'm looking at SSD prices, man, and I just want people to be prepared that it's not going to be cheap. It might not be the price that we saw like rumored, but like I hope people aren't expecting a $70-80 card, because people will be severely disappointed and hurting. Like I made a joke a few months ago about, I'll have to get a label maker for all these cards I'm going to get, and now I'm thinking, you know what? I don't have to buy a label maker.
I might not need that thing. I'd like it. Jamie, I think the sweet spot is anywhere between 100 to 150. 150 to me is still steep for memory expansion, but when you look at what they're doing with these cards, it's not just memory expansion. I know it looks like a memory card, but when it's plugged in, it fits right into the velocity architecture, and the games that are on that card run like it's running on the internal SSD. I mean, so like 150, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay if it goes that far. Like, what do you think the price should be for the memory expansions?
150 is a clean spot. Like
Nice.
I think that's the most people will be looking at and think, you know what, it is an SSD, it's worth it. But like, if it's like the 180 or the 220 range, people are going to be like, I could buy several full price games for that. And like I can look at this price if it's true and think, you know what, I won't get one day one. I'll buy one maybe 3 months after the launch, and I'll just use my current hard drive as storage for now.
Mm.
Because again, like you know, this year hasn't been easy on everyone's wallets, and if we get storage that pricey, yeah, people won't be buying one, at least at launch. And as much as I'd like to have like a cool little pile, one labeled RPGs, one labeled FPS games, like I'm not going to be having a pile of those realistically.
Yeah, I could see you with like a Batman utility belt and having all like the memory expansion cards like all labeled all around it. It's like I feel like action adventure today, and you like pop it up, and you slip it in and just start playing. That I don't know why, man. I can see you doing that, bro.
I mean, in the past, like for older consoles, like 2 generations old, I used to have piles of memory cards, and that was the norm. People were used to like memory cards, but prices back then for memory cards that were 8 to 32 megabytes still weren't pricey. I
Mm.
remember memory cards being like £18 back in the early 2000s, and again, everyone knew, oh well, we need that storage. We like these things called saves, but now, now we have full games on them, so it's like we need this storage, and plus it needs to be fast storage. Like as much, I wish we could run some games, new games off our old hard drives, but let's be real, like to load all these 4K games with all these higher, you know, uh, resolution assets, like to get the real goods, we know for a fact we're going to be paying for it.
Yo, check this out, Jamie. I'm watching the chat, and first off, guys, I know people are excited for this week coming up Wednesday and all that good stuff. This is an Xbox show though, so we're just gonna talk Xbox, for the show and in the chat. So anytime I see any other platform pop up, I'm gonna delete that, and if I see somebody kind of doing it multiple times, then I'm gonna go beyond just deleting those things. We're gonna keep it Xbox here. I do understand the excitement. I do understand where people are already kind of like hypothetically trying to compare, but we're not about that on this show. A bunch of huge news dropped when it came to Xbox, with the Series S, the Series X pricing and all that stuff, and that's the stuff we're gonna cover. But another thing, Doomslayer or Doomhammer. My apologies. Doomhammer said, you can always save your game to your mechanical external and just transfer over the games that you want to play, like when you want to play them, instead of buying the proprietary memory expansion. Now, Jamie, a lot of people have said that, and some people are like, oh, that's going to be a pain in the ass and all that good stuff, but transferring from a mechanical to an SSD, not needing the internet connection to do so, I actually think that's a little more plausible. I think that Xbox might have been thinking that same thing, at least for like the launch. Like if these memory cards are that expensive, like they're like, you know what, but you can just switch over your games that are stored on the mechanical into the SSD and play them that way. Do you think that was on Xbox's mind as well, in terms of beginning this next generation? If they have to sell the SSDs at a little over $200, they very well know that not everybody is going to pick them up. Do you think that they, within the hardware and stuff like that, do you think they're going to make it simple to transfer from a mechanical drive to the SSD, thinking that would be the way most people are going to be putting their games on the series consoles.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, already on Xbox, you can, do fast transfers and like bulk transferring from one hard drive to another. So, I mean, I think they use similar features like with next gen. And when it comes to like, the whole messaging of it, because today I've had 4 people ask me about how the storage situation works. And, it's not confusing. It's just that I have to get across to people that you can store new games on them. You just can't play it. And that's the one sticking point that, that it's hard to get across to people. But given what Microsoft's been like since the launch of the One X, like they kind of make videos and put out tutorials and like how thing works. So like of course, I think we're going to get some like official videos saying, hey, this is how you transfer your data, blah 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 blah. Like they'll do that, just to make it easy, because while everyone listening to this podcast and us, we know about all this crap, not everyone does, And I'm not going to say it's confusing, because I think that term is used way too much.
Way
like,
too much, yeah.
If someone buys a box over $100 in general, I think people do research on it. Like, I have a Bluetooth speaker next to me that cost around £50, and I did research on it. Like, I have more faith in humanity when it comes to tech that they just don't go, hey, what's this? And it's like, a brick. But it's like, I have faith that Microsoft will let people know, and it'll probably work how it does now, but it'll be a lot quicker than it is now, which is a bonus. And if you've watched how games, even by USB 3.0, like games still transfer pretty fast. So people will just put the kettle on, have a cup of tea, and boom, the game will be transferred. And if it's Call of Duty, watch Titanic.
Yeah, I know, right? If it's called, even like Halo 5, let's be real. Halo 5 with, all the additions that they made, because they were putting in like new maps, new armor, stuff like that. Was it every month for like 7-8 months or so, something like that? So that game got pretty massive. And so Destiny 2 as well. Destiny 2 is no slouch when it comes to taking up space on your hard drive. You know what I'm saying? So, but I still think that with all the technology that they have to bring down the size of the games, again, Fun Speculation was talking about with the 1S, you don't even have to, it's not downloading 4K assets and stuff. I think a lot of people are focusing a lot of energy in a place that I think is going to be absolutely fine at the end of the day. I think that, both the Series S, and for the demographic that's going to use that, I think the memory is okay. I would have liked a little bit more, me personally. When it comes to the Series X, you got the 1 terabyte, and again, all the new technology and stuff. I think they thought about it. They planned it through. I think we're in good space here. And a lot of people are talking about the cloud in the chat. Like, a lot of people are trying to say, if they utilize the cloud more in terms of saves and stuff like that, you might be able to transfer from the cloud. And, I'm going to say that you're going to have options. And at the end of the day, I think that's what most people want. They want options, and they want to be able to pick which one best suits them. And I think that's what's going on here. So, I'm digging it, man. I'm digging that, we got so much information this past week. Not only the Series S, but also the Series X. The Series X is coming in at $500. So, like, $500 for the Series X and $300 for the Series S. And 300, I have not seen that number in a very long time when it comes to kicking off a brand new generation. And I know people out there are other little kind of like handheld things that were 300. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the kickoff of a new generation. And Jamie, I gotta ask you, we see Microsoft's plan here in terms of hitting the premium, right? Hitting the premium $500, and then having that entry level at 300. Again, this is stuff that has been rumored, but now that it's out there, it's on the table for everybody to see. What do you think about Xbox's plan here to get Xbox out there, quickly into more hands, a wider demographic going from the casual to the hardcore. What do you think about their game plan here? I know it would have been really good with Halo Infinite as well. Trust me, I know that. But even without that, what do you think about their plan in getting into the launch, man? Are you digging this or not, and why?
I think Microsoft's hitting every right move, because there's enough of a difference between the One X, or should I say Series X and Series S, when it comes to the hardware and the specs, that the value proposition for the Series S, is a lot lower, because you're not getting the 4K stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the value proposition between both consoles, I'd say it's worth it, because if there was just $100 difference, people would be like, well, no, I'll just spend $100 more for the more premium box. But the fact that it's like a $200 difference, that's enough for people to go, well, I want to go and get the more premium one, or I want to get the cheaper one, because they know what they want. And the price is so different that, like, it just makes sense, And the fact that they came out and said, oh, by the way, the Xbox Series X is going to be £449. My jaw hit the floor. Even though it was my predicted price, the sky normally falls on me, and things go wrong. But the price is just perfect. And plus, I'm going to get £100 off, because I've saved off all my Microsoft points. So it's like ka-ching. But it's like, it makes sense, these prices, in the fact, again, all access is going to be there for people, interest free in a lot of locations, and now they're opening up that service to many different European countries, which never even had access to, like, sometimes Xbox Live before. So it's like, the Microsoft knows what they're doing this time. They going very hard in the UK, at least, for pricing, and it just seems like Microsoft, like, as opposed to 7 years ago, nobody knew what was happening. And if you think about it now, there's literally nothing to complain about. The storage situation isn't optimal, but at the same time, like, we can look forward to this generation. And the prices are there, so if you want the cheaper box, go out and get it. Or if you want to get the most premium one because you want the 4K stuff, cool, it's going to be there, and it's not going to be super expensive. This is going to be the cheapest time to jump into ray tracing technology.
Yeah.
Be it for a 1080p / 1440p box, or if you want to go full fast 4K, like, there are games coming out in this machine 4K 60 and ray traced, like, and that's going to be for less than a single graphics card. So to me, the prices make sense. The way Microsoft's handling, the all access program for people that want it. And here's the thing, I have nothing against people that want to go and pay for things monthly. Like, I always see on Twitter people, like, shaming people for this. It's like, no, let people buy things how they want, when they want. And
dude, and it helps your credit as well. Like, with the all access, and Jamie, just real quick, Jamie said what it was before, but for people who don't know, when these systems launch, they have Xbox All Access, which basically you can go into participating stores, and of course they run you through kind of like a credit type. I don't want to say credit check, but it's basically what it is. It's a credit check, right? If your credit is, I think the numbers are in between 500 and 600, you can leave with an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X. 2 years of Xbox Live Gold, 2 years of Game Pass, and for the Series S, you're only paying $25 a month for that thing, and like I said, no money down. Basically, you just go in there, they run you through, and if you're approved, you just walk out with the system. For the Series X, I believe that's $35 a month, and again, with 2 years of Game Pass, 2 years of Xbox Live Gold, and basically you're paying the 25 or the 35 for 2 years. And Jamie, like I said, you said people shunning people for that, but if you pay on time throughout all that, and that's not a large sum of money right there, but it helps your credit score as well. So, like, if people are looking to bolster a couple points on their credit score or something like that, they can use an Xbox to do it, dude. Who would have thought of that?
Yeah, and again, most territories, or a lot of them, like, it's going to be interest free, so you're going to be able to get the box and the subscription to Game Pass, which includes Game Pass Ultimate, which is for PC and console. You're going to have your streaming via xCloud, and you're also going to have EA Access included. Like,
Oh yeah.
like, that's literally hundreds of games ready to go, and at least 80 from EA Access ready to go the second you buy this box. This generation, when we started, we had no backwards compatibility, and obviously the generations are different. People started this generation with 0 games in everything they bought day one. So be it 2 games, 3, 5. This generation, people are jumping in with all of the games they currently own, plus a catalog of literally about 300 games via Game Pass. So, like, I don't care what anyone says. It's an exciting time to be a gamer. It's an exciting time because people have more options than ever. You want to buy a different console outright? You can do that. One cheap, one more expensive. You want to pay monthly? You can do that. One cheaper, one more expensive. And it's just options. And I see people get shunned like, oh, if you pay for monthly for access, no, shut up, shut your face. It's like I could have bought my iPhone for £1,200. Did I? No. I'm paying less per month because I got a good deal. That's how people do things. You use your head. Like people, like I'm buying the Xbox outright because I've been saving for it, but not everyone has. 2020's been expensive on people, and if people's going to judge others for that, they can get out of gaming and get out my face because it really infuriates me how people can be so judgmental over this crap. And it's like, no, let people spend their money how they want. Don't pocket watch for other people. This is a good deal, and it's a good time to jump into the next generation. And there's literally nothing, absolutely nothing to whine about.
Yeah, no, dude, I definitely agree with you. Yo, dude, Jamie, I gotta say, Fun Speculation is absolutely on fire tonight in the chat because he said, with EA Play, kind of going into Game Pass as well, you're gonna get discounts on new EA games and the DLC and stuff like that. The same thing, the same kind of like hooks that they had for EA Access, aka EA Play. Now when you have Game Pass, you're gonna have those discounts as well for the EA games that are coming out. That is a great point. Yo, Speculation, you are on fire right now, brother. Shout out to Shizno as well. Shizno, first off, he was like, it's a really the future is freaking bright for gamers. Next gen is gonna be awesome, and that I absolutely believe that. And Shizno, a little bit earlier, he was saying how he didn't believe necessarily the rumors of the SSD expansion, the memory card expansion being a little over $200. And Jamie, I wanted to just go back on that real quick because there was a point I wanted to throw out there. I wanted to hear what you thought about it. So when it comes to the expanded storage, of course, Microsoft and Seagate, they are partnering up. They have created a proprietary SSD storage card that can only be used on the Xbox Series S and X. That it can't be used anywhere else. That is why it's proprietary. A lot of people have said, "Oh, the history of proprietary things, man. They're gonna jack up the price and stuff." Jamie, I'm gonna pose this to you, and I want to know what you think about this. Now, usually proprietary is right. They jack up prices and stuff, but we've seen and are seeing what Xbox is trying to do to make gaming kind of like, to be able to put gaming into the hands of pretty much everybody. Why not think that maybe it's proprietary because Microsoft and Xbox worked out a deal with Seagate that they're gonna make and they're gonna grab so many units from Seagate that they are able to actually bring the price down a bit to get it in the hands of the customers more. It's kind of like, you know what I'm talking about, those business deals where there's like a mass volume, and as long as so many are made, you can drop the price down even more. You're only dealing one company to another and then into the retail space. Like, do you think it's really far-fetched that I'm kind of hanging on that it might be lower for those storage cards because they're proprietary?
I mean, it's not impossible. Like, think about it. Like, when it comes to like these deals, like let's look at the Mountain Dew stuff, right? So when one of those deals is made, Mountain Dew actually approach Microsoft and they pay money to get Master Chief put on a can, right? Because it's a marketing thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you've got to wonder when they came out with like the spec of what they were going to be using for the storage, you've got to wonder, did Seagate approach them? Because it says in the small print that Seagate will be, basically having exclusive rights to make an expandable storage for 1 year. So you've got to wonder, did Seagate pay Microsoft for exclusive rights to make these storage cards? Because, later on, I do think we will see people like, Logitech and Samsung make them.
So hold on, the exclusive rights are only for 1 year?
That's what I saw, yeah.
Oh, okay. See, and that's something I didn't see. I'm gonna have to look that up. But Jamie, I know you cover things quite thorough, so that is actually really interesting right there.
Like at least one piece of marketing material I saw said 1 year. But like it's very possible that we could see them cheaper. Like again, like we saw the Xbox One X, or so I should say Series X. I'm gonna get that confused for a while. But it's clear that there could be a deal in place where we get things cheaper. But like again, I keep saying like I want people to be prepared because storage isn't cheap. But yeah, I mean, I at the end of the day, people can end up holding off. And this is the thing, back to the whole storage thing. I just looked at the storage on my Xbox, and I have games there that I've not played in years. I have games literally in my library, and I'm not even kidding, because I don't want the collection to look weird. Okay. Like I have like 15, or I should say 14 Final Fantasy games installed on my Xbox or something like that. I'm not going to play them all at the same time. I'm only playing one at the minute. So it's like I have them there in case I just want to.
Just in case.
I have about 5 Call of Duty games on my hard drive, which I haven't touched in forever. So it's like a human nature type thing. We want to hoard our little digital games and our little digital tiles, and like yes, it would be optimal for us to have all of our games slapped onto one of these cards, or a few for a cheaper price. But like people are just gonna have to be smarter with the storage, and like me, I'm not gonna have the collection I have now, on these like smaller cards because I'm being realistic. Like I know I'm not gonna be buying 4 of these cards for a while.
Yeah, no. Even at 150, buying 4 of them, you're looking at what, $600 right there. Like, hold on, 1, 3, 6. All right, I had to do the math in my head real quick. I realized I was going a little too quick with the math. Yo, just real quick, shout outs for super chats here. I want to shout out Sean Murray. What is up, brother? Good to see you. Thank you for supporting the channel and the show. He says Xbox is going strong, and 220 for the SSD. I think it will be more like 150, and the feature is brought. Xbox is going to smash this gen. The feature that they have with the SSDs it's going to smash. And I think that I love how they're using it, like the expandable storage. When it plugs in, it plugs right into the Velocity architecture, and it acts right. It acts like the SSD, the internal in the system. I think that was a really good move right there. Shout out to Fun Speculation, man, brother, hitting up that super chat. He says, I owe you thanks for the shout out. Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate everybody in the chat right now. Trust me, it means a lot. He says, keep up the great podcast with great panelists. Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster will be a thing, according to Jamie. Hype! Yeah, Jamie, did you hear any more about the Mass Effect Trilogy? What's going on, bro?
Nothing just yet. But we can loop this into the whole EA Play thing, because I know we didn't have this as a topic, but it's still big news,
Yeah.
The games in this library, like EA Access is not something I pay for because I own almost everything in there except from the sports games. But like for me, this isn't the biggest deal in the world initially, but after thinking about it, it's like as soon as these games come to Game Pass, which is like 80, the Battlefield player base is going to shoot right up. The Titanfall player base is going to shoot right. And you're going to have all these huge multiplayer games having access to all these new players. And then there's the back catalogs. You're going to have the Dead Space trilogy in there on I was going to say Netflix, but on
the Netflix of games.
Yeah, and the thing is, even though it's not the remaster, the whole Mass Effect trilogy is going to be there to play. And then you also have to look at the other benefits. Again, like you were saying, you get like 10% off or 25% off or whatever. And we also have the 10-hour trials in EA Access. So, which means when the Mass Effect trilogy comes out, and it's going to be a thing, you're going to potentially be able to fire up Game Pass and play the Mass Effect remaster for 10 hours.
For 10 hours. Nice.
And again, Star Wars Squadrons, even though that launches in early October, you're going to get your 10-hour trial. Like, it's pretty amazing, like, all the value there. And then Jedi Fallen Order is coming to EA Access this year. That's huge. In my opinion, that's one of the best games this generation, and nobody really talks about it, but it's like, it's a phenomenal game, and it's going to be in Game Pass. Like, the EA Access thing is one of the biggest news pieces this week, because, again, when Battlefield comes out next year, it's going to have a 10-hour trial, and it'll be in Game Pass.
Yeah, dude, when it's incredible how much they keep increasing the value of Game Pass. Although I do want to shout out Dragonheart Yobi, and this is for you, Jamie. All right, he says, I was told by a close source to expect the Mass Effect trilogy remastered very soon. All right, so, and, like, I know you've been on top of this. There's other people out there. I know Yobi. Yobi is a huge fan of Mass Effect as well. You and Yobi are the first two people I think about whenever anybody says Mass Effect. So, both of you guys are hyped. Both of you guys seem to, quote-unquote, know things. So, it might be right around the corner for you guys, and I'm excited for you. Definitely excited for you. But I think it's about time to get into some of that speculation that has been going around. What do you think, Jamie? About that time?
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's start with backwards compatible titles when it comes to the Series S. And a lot of people are causing a big stink about this. Like, when it comes to the Series S, for backwards compatible titles, for, I guess, Xbox One, Xbox 360, OG Xbox games, they're not going to be 4K. All right. And people are making a big stink about this. They are going to have improvements visually when it comes to the games running on the Series S. But people are causing this whole thing because Xbox One X will play these backwards compatible titles, the 360 titles, the OG Xbox titles, will play them in 4K. And the Series S won't. Jamie, what do you think about these complaints here? Now, like, at first I was like, oh, really? But then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, well, we have the Series X, which is this new generation's, Xbox One X, basically. And then we have the Series S, which I'm looking at as, this new generation's, like, Xbox One S, that introductory, not native 4K type machine. So after I started thinking about it that way, I'm like, well, it makes sense. They're going to do improvements on it visually, and of course, performance-wise, it's going to run better on the Series S. But dude, what do you think about these complaints here? Is there anything to really complain about here? What do you think, man? You heard what I thought about it. Are you kind of in that same boat, or share your opinion on this, man?
Yeah, like when we start talking about, like, the S, we did kind of briefly go over this, but, like, I think the complaints just make no sense now, because, again, this is the cheaper box, and the people buying this likely didn't have a One X, so it has slower RAM, or should I say part of the RAM slower, so of course this wasn't going to be a 4K machine, and the people buying this aren't going to be buying those games, backwards compatible for the 4K stuff, It's all about compatibility. It's like, did Microsoft set out to make this an Xbox One X, plus, or did they come to make, the cheapest next-gen console they can? Because it's still going to have ray tracing and higher frames. And here's the thing that people are forgetting. Games are getting automatic HDR next generation. And we don't know the whole machine learning thing, because games already get 16 times anisotropic filtering, and they also get, four times MXAA. And the thing is, we're getting that next generation, but we're also getting direct machine learning that will probably increase these games, because again, we don't know the whole backwards compatible situation yet, because they haven't talked about machine learning and what it's going to be giving us. But considering I know about what machine learning does, and I actually find that, you know, stuff quite entertaining, like machine learning can greatly improve an image depending on what the CPU is. And the CPUs in these little machines are quite beefy.
Oh yeah.
So at the end of the day, will the native resolution be 4K on something like, you know, Gears of War 5 on next gen on an Xbox Series S? No, but we don't know if it'll be getting DLSS, which increases a game's, you know, visual fidelity, you know, in the resolution, it upscales it. So we don't know yet. Because the thing is, if we do end up getting something like DLSS, which we probably are, the whole arguing online over this at the minute is completely mute, pointless. Like, so at the end of the day, people will find something to complain about. And the thing is, think about it like this: Microsoft offer a cheaper next generation console that's smaller, literally looks different, isn't confusing in any way unless you like only have 2 brain cells, and
Wow.
it's going to be the easiest time to jump into the next generation. And people are reaching to try and find something negative about it. Of course, like, it would have been amazing if this played everything One X does in the way it does. Yeah, but at the same time, the One X is incapable of DLSS, which is going to increase gaming imagery. So at the same time, it's like, yeah, it might not be native, but games are still going to look good. So to everyone like trying to, like, you know, bring this console down and like the hype of the community, like, there isn't really anything to complain about.
Brother, you know what's funny about this? You know, people will say what they want to say on social media, and I am actually one of the people that believe that social media does affect the gaming community and the gaming industry. There's people that are like, oh, it's just me, you know, talking crap on Twitter or whatnot, and I'm like, well, basically everybody's on Twitter, so you're gonna influence somebody somewhere, you know, with your kind of half-assed opinions or whatnot. I really do think that social media does have certain effects that people try to downplay. But when it comes to the Series S, I think the price point alone in the store or on the website that people are ordering, I think that the price point trumps all that complaining about this and about that and about the nitpicking. I feel like what Microsoft and Xbox did here, they hit a low enough price point that even if people start going nuts on social media, there's going to be customers in the store or on the website looking at that $299 and it's like, oh, click, I'm going to buy that, or telling the clerk, yeah, that's what I want right there, strictly because of the price point, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I put it like this. Like, this is probably something we're going to be talking about a bit, but I'm going to mention it now because it makes sense. So if I see a post on Twitter, and bear in mind, everyone is influenced by everything they see. I see 2 different posts on Twitter. One about a developer kind of being negative about the Xbox Series S. And I see another one about a developer being positive about the Xbox Series S. Do you know which tweet gets the most traction?
Well, drama sells, so negativity always.
Yeah. So now back to that point, the developer kind of bashing Xbox Series S is a developer behind a game that's very cartoony, where it literally, the graphics, and they meant to be, it looks like it's made out of Play-Doh. And then the other game by the developer that's praising One X, or just a Series X, S, bloody hell.
We will get there, Jamie. We will. Yeah, at some point.
But the developer that praised Series S, he is behind Battlefield. One of the most resource-heavy games on Earth since the dawn of time. You know, like, we know how it is. But again, that one tweet by the negative dude got the most traction. Because people don't want to be smart about stuff. People want to... Because think about it, there's no confusing messaging thing this time around. It's not 7 years ago. People are literally finding anything to twist and turn. Because I see GameSpot, of all places, the place that couldn't find the settings on the OG Xbox, despite the fact that you can do it by pressing one button, or could at the time. This is the place that think 2 models of a console that look completely different is confusing. When my Samsung TV, which I knew about when I bought it, it has about 40 digits after its name. And I didn't find that confusing. And then people can consider themselves either insiders or tech influencers, and they find it confusing. They don't find it confusing because if you look or make yourself look stupid on Twitter, you get more likes. That's the truth. The people that do this are doing it for likes. If you're negative about Xbox, you're guaranteed to get more likes. But some of us aren't trash, and we won't do that. Look,
Dude,
look,
yo, Jamie, you got the little jabs going today. They're just little jabs as you're talking. You're popping them, man.
I'll mention things right now that I think Microsoft should, improve on when it comes to Xbox. Xbox Upload Studio, that needs to be improved in my opinion. Hasn't been updated since 2014, where we had Sunset Overdrive overlays. Another thing I don't like is that I personally think we should have more storage when it comes to OneDrive, right?
Okay.
That's literally two things that I will say that I don't like about Microsoft and Xbox. But they're not doing anything bad. They're not doing anything wrong. Then you have people would rather pretend to be stupid and look concerned and confused about a product than be smart and be legitimate. Yeah. And congratulations, that's social media 101. Being dumb and being hateful towards Xbox gets more likes. But at the end of the day, those people at the end of the time will be less relevant because when you shovel horse crap, people tend to ignore you.
Yeah, after a while, people start catching on, per se, and these people out there on social media, they might grab the community for a little while, and people might run with them and stuff. But after people start seeing a trend going so far, people decide, I'm not even going to deal with that person anymore. I know I've done it with a couple people that I was friends with on Twitter, and I'm like, I just really can't deal with this negativity anymore. And I didn't even really say anything. I just kind of like unfollowed. I'm like, good, it's not going to be in my feed anymore. I'm all set with that. But Jamie, you brought up devs, and I think that's a good segue into kind of like our next topic, because there's some devs that came out basically talking about the Series S and saying that down the line, once cross-gen is over, the Series S is going to act like a bottleneck and hold back the Series X. Now, I want to touch on this real quick, and then I'm going to throw it to you, man, and you can go crazy with it. But I'm going to refer to Jason Ronald, basically the head of developing both of these systems, the architecture, all that good stuff. And what Jason Ronald said was basically developers develop for the Series X, and then they bring it down in, they customize it for the Series S afterwards. So inherently, they are developing for the Series X first and then bringing the game down in size so this way it can run on the Series S then. So right there, I'm looking at that and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense then if the Series S is supposed to be a bottleneck for the Series X. Jamie, and I only shared half my thought. I'm going to sandwich your thought with my thought in the beginning and then kind of like my thought at the end. Jamie, what do you think about these developers here and what they're saying in terms of the less powerful Xbox here, saying that it's gonna hold back and it's gonna bottleneck games for the Series X? Are you signing off on that? Or do you have a different opinion here, bro?
It's silly, man, and here's why, right? So people, and when I say people, I mean developers, will make games for Xbox Series X and then they port downwards, right? That's how it's always worked. Do you think when the new Nvidia card comes out in October, right, or whenever it comes out, do you think they're gonna make games for, that, was it $1,400 card? Do you think they're gonna make games for that and think, you know what, we can't make games at its best on this card because we need to support the 950? Yeah. We have to support a 10
well, these
generation.
Developers are trying. There's some developers saying don't point to the PC space when it comes down to this, bro.
Here's the thing. I get that. I completely get. But the thing is, this isn't like last generation where we're moving from PowerPC to, x86. We're moving forward with another generation that's the same architecture, or should I say, a compatible architecture. Like it's different. People can scale down games now, and this is the stupidest reason why I think people are complaining. The RAM slower in the Series S. Congratulations, most PCs don't have RAM like the Series S.
And well,
So
the
it's like,
Series S RAM, like again with the Series S, it's not having to put anything into the game that's 4K either. Like,
yeah, I mean, like the thing is, and I've seen people try and make this. Graphics cards don't hold back games. They just don't, right? AMD are going to come out with shiny new cards, and those are going to be beefy as hell. But at the end of the day, if you've got a cheaper PC with a cheaper graphics card, chances are you're going to have an optimized version for it, even if it's almost 10 years old. And, the 1080 is still one of the best selling graphics cards. Why? Because it's cheap. They're not going to stop making games available for that. And the thing is, my PC I got for editing, right? I've got a 1660 and I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM, mainly because it didn't really cost much more. But still, like, I know for a fact that 32 gigabytes of RAM, not all that's going towards like the game. I have Windows and other stuff running in the background when it's all set up. But it's like, I think when people compare it to PC, they're not saying it's exactly like PC. They compare it to PC because scalability is more of a thing now. While it's moving from last generation to this generation, scalability wasn't really a thing. They were essentially making two different games. There were teams specified for next generation, would be in this generation, and last gen. And it used to be worse back in the day because games used to be completely different. The Splinter Cell Double Agent on the Xbox is it literally a completely different game with a different story by a different team than the one that came out in 360. Things have changed over the years and gotten easier. So, yeah, games aren't going to look or perform maybe as good on the Series S, but at the end of the day, there's still been games developed for weaker PC hardware. And the only time I see developers complain about this is they probably... Look, I know this might be insulting, and I don't care at the minute because I'm sick of seeing people being falsely concerned about that. It's a bit convenient that,
fake concerned. Like, they're not concerned. They're just trying to jab, man.
And what do you know? I always see places like, GameSpot or IGN. It basically, one of the big video game publications, retweet this stuff and, talk about it. It's like, oh my God, will it hold it back? But then we have people working from DICE saying it won't be an issue. So I'm going to trust someone that makes a game as technically, big as, a Battlefield game as, a Rick and Morty game.
Well, somebody from DICE, let's be honest with you, somebody from DICE, because they do make a big franchise, probably has the dev kit. You know what I'm saying? And they're working on their next project to kind of like come out for the Series S and the Series X. So they probably have some knowledge here as well, Jamie. So I definitely, I like where you're going with that. Another thing I want to point out is, and let me see, I believe, Sean Murray put it in the chat as well. Again, Sean, thank you, brother, for your participation, and shout out to everybody in the chat. Yo, if you haven't done it yet, hit that thumbs up button. If you are having fun talking about all things Xbox, because that's what we're about here at the Series X podcast. We talk all things Xbox, no comparison, no console war BS, just Xbox. So Sean Murray basically stated that, you can use the SSD as virtual RAM or VRAM, giving more system memory at that point in time when it comes down to it. Not only that, variable rate shading. So they have so many techniques within the DirectX 12 Ultimate API to kind of like really streamline your game going either from the SSD and onto your screen, or from the SSD into your RAM and then onto your screen. Like, I don't understand. And again, shout out to Fun Speculation talking about, and they're not using 4K assets with the Series S. Jamie, are you scratching your head like I am in confusion? Shouldn't these developers be looking at all the tools that are at their disposal as well when it comes to bringing a game down from the Series X and running on the Series S to make a more kind of like complete thought before they put it out on social media?
I mean, you'd hope, but we live in a world where like people like to be dumb for attention. And look, I'm being plain and upfront about this. I think the drama is way over the top about this. And if you think about it, like if people want to talk about hardware holding back, we could go back again back to earlier PCs. It's not a problem. And the thing is, like whenever I see like threads talking about this, it's because people want something to complain about. Like really think about it. When the Xbox Series S actually, leaked by Brad Sams and he had the image of it, and then the price, and then the price of the Series X, Twitter was flooded with positivity and hype. People were hyped for a generation. I didn't see developers for a day or two say anything about specs, despite the fact we knew them. And then all of a sudden, after a few days of positivity, it's like, oh, some developer from nowhere I've ever heard of is complaining about the RAM. It's like, okay.
Well, yo, check this out. Real quick, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but somebody from id Software or ID Software, came out and he started talking about the RAM as well. But if people kept scrolling down throughout his rant, at the end of his rant, and this is something that, of course, the Don being an independent developer and a couple other developers that I talked to have kind of all said, like, developers always want more RAM, no matter what. So, and this developer from id Software, at the end, he was like, well, if you look at how the RAM has accumulated over generations, he was literally saying there should be 128 gigabytes of RAM in these consoles.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, developers and, people will always want more RAM. And yes, is the RAM jump this big? Or should I say, ever been like this big or small? Like, no, like normally the RAM jump we have is bigger, but we have a thing called Moore's Law. And the thing is, RAM isn't cheap enough and small enough to produce that where we could have, 128 gigabytes of RAM in a console. Like, it's just not feasible. But having a cheaper console, it's going to have slower, like, partial RAM. And the thing is, you can use the SSD as virtual RAM. Mm-hmm. Developers literally have the tool set to make games optimized on these hardware, pieces of hardware. And it's like, the thing is, I think to settle this, they should get one developer that's against it and one developer that's, for it, and let them talk out in a YouTube video.
Yeah, I would love to watch that, dude.
Because, like, again, we have, internet nerds like us talking about it on Twitter, and we have people arguing about it, but at the end of the day, we haven't had two developers with two opposing thoughts talk about it. Like, that should be the thing people want. And at the end of the day, I think there's no such thing as, it's going to hold things back. No. Like, just no.
Well, real quick, Jamie, shout out to Lone Star. What is going on, brother? Good to see you in the chat. First off, Lone Star said basically both sides are right on this because, when developers have to develop, down for a lower spec system, basically time is money, right? That's pretty much what he's saying. And I agree with that. Time is money. And I feel like these devs are really complaining about this because they don't want to scale down. They don't, not necessarily it's a pain in the ass or anything like that, but it does take more time. Like, even if it took, say, a day, and I'm not saying that it would just take a day to scale down, but whatever time it does take, no matter what the ease of it is, time is money. And I feel like these developers that are talking about this in a negative manner, I think these are the developers that just don't want to spend that time scaling down to the Series S. What do you think about that, Jamie?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're going to have developers that are going to be like, you know what? We are artists at the end of the day. I'm going to make the best version possible for this device. So if they can't make games for two different platforms, basically being the same platform, like, do they really care about their game? I don't know. Like, to me, it seems like, again, forced negativity and concern because, again, think about it. CD Projekt Red, they're going to come out with, a next generation upgrade for free. And these next generation upgrades cost time and money. So if we get next gen upgrades for free, I think they can afford to do an Xbox Series S patch.
Yo, Jamie, you are on fire tonight, man. Again, little jabs, stuff like that. You are going in on these guys tonight, man.
I mean, the main thing for me is like the second these prices leaks, like honestly, I saw so much positivity in the Xbox community, because we had good news. There's nothing to complain about. So the only people that are bringing up really the whole developer thing, and is it going to hold games back? The only people bringing that up are people that want to bash Xbox all day. Like developers should be talking about this. And again, we haven't had two different developers in a room talking about it. If we have developers spending their own money for free upgrades, then it shouldn't even be a question because they're going to be optimizing for the console anyway. So I don't get it. Like it's another thing to whine about. And at the end of the day, they get more attention from this. And their more attention goes, oh well, there's someone complaining about Xbox. What game did they make? I'll look into that. Because people have done that. I've seen people go, hey, the Xbox Series S right there, I like that. But at first, I'm just going to check out what game they made. We all do that, It's human nature. And, I think developers, I think people, like, on all fronts, like, it's going to be a cool console generation. We don't have to find something to whine about. Is this going to hold them back? No. We all know the answer. Like the dev kit itself has literal optimization buttons on the front where they can do base sets. So it's like, don't be lazy. I know that might sound horrible, but if we can get free patches for next gen, then they can do an Xbox Series S optimization. Dude, that's their job.
To me, there's too many similarities to really complain about this. Again, unless you're a developer, or you're a studio that really doesn't want to take the time to scale down for the Series S, because velocity architecture, the CPU is quite powerful in a $300 system, and pretty much comparable to what is in the Series X as well. Yes, you have less RAM, but you're not doing the 4K assets, stuff like that. I still feel like it's too little of a difference when it comes down to it to really say that this thing is gonna bottleneck games 2-3 years down the line, when it's the lowest SKU that developers are making games for. And unfortunately, people are gonna run with that, and a lot of those people that are talking are hardcore gamers. They're not even looking to buy a $300 system. They're looking at the top dogs, the premium ones, but yet feel like they have to chime in and kind of quote tweet these developers. Like Jamie, you ever notice people like to handpick developers? Like, if this developer is talking negative about Xbox, okay, I'm gonna retweet him to make my point. But then you have these three other developers actually saying it's a good thing. It's like, oh no, we're not going to pay attention to those guys. We're just going to pull that negative one and we'll retweet that one real quick.
Yeah, and look, I see what Christopher is saying in chat about these developers saying they're concerned about only Xbox. Here's the thing: if you look at all the tweets by developers, there's probably an even amount on either side. It's just people cherry pick stuff.
Yes.
Think about it. If I were to go, hey, and literally, I know Twitter like the back of my hand. If I posted a tweet with a bunch of different photos of different developers, all bashing or being critical of the Xbox Series S, if I took that exact same tweet and posted it with positive pictures, do you know which one's going to get the most likes and retweets? The negative one.
Yeah, of course.
It's because that gets attention. And do you know what happens with negativity? Forum threads pop up. Oh, people love the forum threads. And that gives developers more attention. And that makes people like me go on there, look at the salt, because, why not? But it's like, I think it's just partly people wanting attention, partly people wanting something to complain about, because people always need something to complain about. Dude. It's what I see all the time. It's like, think about it, they announced a cheaper box that's optional, and it's going to be The thing is, the big differential factor in this console is its GPU, and people are focusing on the RAM. Do you know why? Because GPUs and graphics don't really hold games back in 2020, but people are looking at the RAM because that is the focal point. We can go, you know what? I don't like that. It's slower. But if I do my job and we're going to put out free next generation upgrades anyway, there's no issue.
Yeah, yeah. Now, yo, again, shout out to the chat. Yo, good to see everybody here. All the Xbox gamers, people wanting to talk about Xbox news. And again, I just want to reiterate the fact that we do not talk about other platforms, either on the show or in the chat. No P's, no S's, nothing like that. We're only talking about Xbox, guys. So please bear that in mind when you are in the chat. I will delete those. I will. But Jamie, let's move on to our last topic, man. Like I said, we're usually going to keep the show about an hour and a half, and I know last week we went 2 hours, but man, we were on a roll last week. So, but the newest thing from our buddy Jeff Grubb, right? He went on Twitter. I think it was, I want to say 2 days ago, either yesterday or 2 days ago, and basically he did this really cryptic tweet. He was like, I heard that Microsoft is spending a lot of money on something that isn't an acquisition. He said, that's what I've heard. It's not an acquisition. And the way it was raised to me, it seems like it would be a big deal. And then not only that, but kind of funny's Imran Khan also kind of stated the same thing. He's like, yeah, I heard the same thing. I gotta ask you, man, because you said you had a thought on this, because I have no idea what they're talking about. I could go back and kind of reiterate like the whole rumors that Microsoft Xbox were kind of like working with Sega on something behind the scenes, something like that. But Jamie, you said you had a thought on this. What do you think this money spending is on, if it's not an acquisition? I want to hear your thought. You didn't share it with me off the air, by the way, so I'm hearing this for the first time. What do you think is going on here, bro?
So, I mean, at first people would be like, well, it's going to be a studio acquisition. But again, that's an acquisition. And you have to think about it like this. When it comes to big money spent, Microsoft has spent big money this generation by, buying new studios and also getting the rights to put certain games in Game Pass. So, like, apparently, Devil May Cry 5 apparently cost a lot of money to put in Game Pass. Mm-hmm. So, you have to think a lot of money. What could that be? And one of a few things popped into my head. It could be the same as EA Access, but with Ubisoft service. That's a possibility.
Okay.
Because the huge back catalogue of Ubisoft games being in Game Pass would be immensely huge, bigger than the EA
that would
thing.
Be you have EA Play coming this holiday. If they grabbed Ubisoft service and put that into Game Pass with the games that are already there now, that would be an insane library of games right there.
But the other thing I think it could be, because again, it's not an acquisition. What if they're spending all this money to put a new studio together from scratch?
I like where you're going with that. Kind of like what they did with the Initiative, started hiring developers and whatnot.
With the Initiative, think about what did they have to pay for? They had to get a new fancy studio space, money. They had to get all the technology, and it's expensive to fill a studio out with creative equipment and possibly more capping studios. Like, these things cost a lot of money, and again, people's wages, game developers, like, that all adds up. So like when I saw Jeff Grubb talk about that, I was thinking it's probably a studio creation.
Wow. See, and it's funny because when it comes to the Initiative, we haven't seen anything from them yet, but when you look at the developers that they have hired and that are now working at that studio, it already seems like a top tier studio, that to the point where people are so excited they're like, show us something from that studio. So you think it might be another built from the ground up studio that'll be under Xbox's first party umbrella?
Yeah,
possibly.
I mean, like for a huge amount of money to be spent, I can't think of it being anything else because like let's look at where Microsoft has studios at the minute. They have US based ones, UK. We've got a few now in the UK, and you know Japan's missing from that. And Microsoft needs Japanese RPGs. Now, do I think this is the Japanese studio I've been wanting? I don't know, but like it would cost a lot of money to set up a new studio in Japan and
Mm.
find new developers, and then they would have to get interest from developers before even wanting to form the studio to begin with. So it's like the only thing I can think about is it being a new studio. I mean, would the Ubisoft thing be really cool to have all the Assassin's Creed games and Splinter Cell games and Game Pass?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that'd be
But
insane.
like when they say when he said acquisitions, the only thing I could think of was literally the Ubisoft thing, the new studio thing, and even though it's technically an acquisition, I was just thinking maybe they bought an IP, but again, that would be an acquisition technically.
Yeah,
So it's one of the three things, and it's probably one of
dude.
the first two.
Dude, again, I have no clue. Absolutely no clue. Yo, shout out to Michelle Alexandria for paying for that sticker. That is freaking awesome. It says "Hey you," and I say "Hey you" back. But you know what, Jamie? I think we'll round this out with one more thing because again, starting with a leak, but Xbox just let a whole bunch of information out the bag. We know the release date, we know the pre-order date, we know the price of both consoles. We've seen teases and trailers to games that are coming out. I feel like Xbox is not done yet. I feel like there's still some things that they need to show. So I want to ask you real quick, in terms of that. We did get a lot of information this week. What do you think is left for Xbox to either talk about or to show in some type of event or something like that? What do you think is left on their table to get people hyped for when the Series S and the Series X come out?
I mean, not talking about XO20, I don't think Microsoft might be dropping anything else because like the whole Series S stuff leaks and the Series X stuff leaked and the videos and like legitimate video interviews leaked online the other day. And it's like everything Microsoft seems to have had planned for again the next month or whatever. Like it seemingly got leaks, and I just like unless Microsoft creates something digitally, they have it on a secure hard drive somewhere on not a server, and they have this show planned that they're going to drop within minutes of announcing. I don't see anything being like announced as in like a digital show because again everything Microsoft has some leak legitimately a leak where they apparently can't stop it like Microsoft's like
if
secret
Microsoft were a
information.
submarine, they'd be in trouble right now, bro.
Yeah,
Submarine
I mean
boat, anything like that, they'd be in trouble.
I mean, picture the Titanic being their secure, information, and I hope that's not Azure because a lot of companies pay for that. But it's it's clear that Microsoft and people at Microsoft hated the fact that all this stuff leaked. I've seen a lot of people at Microsoft. You can tell they've tried to calm down their own tweet by censoring themselves.
Mm.
They are blatantly annoyed by this. Would it be cool if it was a controlled leak? Absolutely, because again, that would mean that there isn't a bunch of developers over there that are annoyed by this. But I can tell you on Twitter, people are legitimately annoyed at Microsoft.
You know,
Like,
real quick, Jamie, I just want to give you kind of like my thought on what needs to either be said or shown or something like that. I think they need to simplify what new games are going to be ready at launch for the Series S and the Series X. Because, and I know there are trolls out there on Twitter that are like, oh, there are no games or what games and stuff like that. I think they really need to kind of go in and simplify, even if they tweet out just a list of games that are kind of like, Xbox exclusive or Series X and Series S exclusive. Just simplify it, put a list down there because we know all the third party is coming, right? Like we know all that. We know like the NBAs, the Maddens, all that good stuff. We know all third party is coming. Like they're all invited. They're all gonna be there. But people want to know what makes kind of like the Series X and the Series S like more unique. So I think they need to come out and really simplify and just either list or come out with like a trailer or something that really goes in and talks about the launch titles for the series of consoles when they come out November 10th. What do you agree with that, man?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I can look at the games coming out over the next few months, and I can name probably like 12 I want. Like, all of which will be, enhanced for next generation. Like, I know this. But the problem is that there isn't a definitive source or place where you can go to and go, hey, this is all of the launch lineup games, be it first party or second party or third party. There isn't a single place you can go where, oh, look at all this next generation footage. For everything I just mentioned, you have to search for it.
Yeah.
And there's people like me, I know all this crap because I search for it. I make YouTube videos about it and I talk about it on Twitter. I wish I got paid for the amount of stuff I do on Twitter, but still, like I know this stuff, but most people don't. Even hardcore gamers that kind of know some of this don't, because like we still don't know a ton of information. We don't know the whole backwards compatible thing, which we should get. Like ideally, we would get in an hour-long video saying what the rest of the features are, and this is the definitive list of games ready day one, launch or enhanced. Like that's something I want them to do, but if you look at the time left, like between now and launch, like I honestly can't see it happening. But at the end of the day, like I know what I'm getting, but like when it comes to the whole broad spectrum of like everyone, like Microsoft should really have something else, because again, we didn't have E3 this year, and this E3 was going to be their biggest ever. And if you look at the amount of games that's been announced already, like I know this isn't a topic, but Saints Row practically like 3 hours ago. Like it's like Saints Row is coming. It hasn't been announced. It was probably going to be at E3. The Harry Potter RPG was probably going to be at E3. At least that one was rumored to be. Gotham Knights was going to be at E3. Like, and we still have tons of games coming that haven't been announced yet. We have a Mafia 4, a next-gen Bioshock. Again, none of it's been shown. If we had E3, all of it would have been there. So you've got to wonder, like, what is there still available that can be shown on Microsoft's stream or whatever, and what's just being pushed back even further into next year? Because, again, if it wasn't for all the crap going on in 2020 by now, like, I think people would be really satisfied with everything shown, and we would have had, like, dozens of videos on the Xbox YouTube channel listed Xbox One X gameplay. But all we've seen so far is Xbox Series S Assassin's Creed gameplay. And then we see a random stream on YouTube. Literally, it's a Assassin's Creed Valhalla 4K 60. And people are like, is this the Xbox version? We don't know. And that's the problem. And it's not confusing. It's just like we shouldn't have to go searching for this information as much as we have to.
It should be readily available, man. Like it should be easy to get to, easy to point to, easy to show your friends and your family, whoever are gamers out there. Like, look, this is the reason why right here, And unfortunately, they haven't done it yet. And brother, you bring up some great points as always. And I just want to give a shout out again to everybody in the chat. Yo, guys. It has been an absolute blast so far. We are one of the newest podcasts out here, and we are here for the Xbox gamers, talking Xbox, Xbox topics, Xbox news, all that good stuff, and to see everybody come in on a week-to-week basis, being one of the newest podcasts there is, and being such a very specified podcast as well. You guys have been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for the support, and we are just getting started with this. But Jamie, on that note, unless you have any last words on what we were just talking about, I think it's about time to wrap it up. We went a little over an hour and a half today. I think that's that's what people should expect. Anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours with me and you talking about Xbox stuff like that. I think that's going to be the sweet spot, right in that area right there. So unless you have any more last words, I think we can get into our outros and stuff like that. Let me know, bro.
Yeah, for everyone wanting like, a definitive list or wanting more, if I look at this generation coming launch lineup, it's literally without Halo, it's the best launch lineup we've ever had for a console ever.
Dude,
Like,
I can see where you're coming from with that, with all the games that are kind of like, we're going into like full backwards compatibility type area and stuff like that. So in terms of how many games and the variety that can be played with enhancements and stuff like that, that's pretty much where you're going with that as well, right? As well as
yeah,
like the new games.
yeah, I mean, like, I'll just list off a few games like Dirt 5 enhanced for the next generation. It's literally going to be the racer to buy this year. We have things like Outriders. We have things like Assassin's Creed. That new game Immortals, Phoenix Rising. We have Cyberpunk. A bunch of RPGs coming out this year. You know, to Xbox, and we have Dragon Quest coming to Xbox this time, and
Yeah.
it's just I'm more excited for all the games coming, and then we have Gears Tactics, by the way, and I've been after Gears Tactics for a long time, and that's a launch game, 4K 60, and it's like I look at all these games being announced for the next few months. And while we don't have a definitive list, like if I go look, like there's a ton of games I'm after, and I've never been hyped for a launch lineup as I am for this one. Again, Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed, Outriders, Dirt, Yakuza, Day One, Watch Dogs. Like it's a cool few months ahead, and like again, we should have had something definitive. I know that, but like again, I've never been this excited for a generation ever. And the games that's coming this year alone surpass every other launch we've ever had. Like, really.
Yeah, no doubt. I just saw somebody in the chat like, this is an Xbox podcast, so I'm looking to see where somebody might. There it is. I see it, and bloop, gone. There it goes. Again, keeping it an entirely Xbox podcast. And Jamie, I love your excitement, bro. And you're right. There are a ton of games, a ton of experiences that are just waiting for people to jump into when it comes to the Series S and the Series X. I am excited for gamers all over. It is the start of a new generation. And of course, that start is November 10th. And just, I can't wait to see the games evolve over time, because we know like games like Hellblade 2, Forza Motorsport, those are coming kind of like down the line. And I can't wait to see how these games evolve in terms of their gameplay, in terms of their graphics. What type of different techniques and utilities are the devs going to use to squeeze more out of these systems? I'm really excited as well, Jamie. But dude, on that note, we are pretty much done with tonight's show, man. Dude, Jamie, you are absolutely on fire tonight. You had some quick little jabs in there when you were talking, and some not so quick and right out there in the open for anybody to see type jabs as well. You are a YouTuber, brother, the Elusive Gamer. And yes, I do have a link to the YouTube channel in the description below, but it is about that time, brother. So let people know about the YouTube channel. Let people know, because you are on Twitter. Let people know about where they can go talk to you about games on social media. And if you have an end-all be-all remedy to migraines, you might want to share that with them now as well, bro.
Thanks, man. Look, it's been a cool show, and we've actually had hardware stuff to talk about, and
Yes.
but like the gaming industry as a whole, we've been theorizing for months about what's going on with prices, and we've got it. Literally, it's out there, and it's kind of a weight lifted off my back, because some of the rumored prices, I was like, no. But yeah, it's been good, man. But yeah, my YouTube is The Elusive Gamer, where I talk literally just Xbox. I don't do fanboy stuff, and I should have a video coming out tomorrow and Friday. So two for this coming week, and my Twitter is Jamie Moran UK. But when it comes to the whole hangover and headache situation, hydration. Just drink lots of water, eat some carbs, and you'll be good.
Wow. See, dude, to do hangovers, I always bought a big bottle of Gatorade. And in the States, we have it's kind of like a semi-fast food restaurant. Not necessarily fast food like McDonald's, but it's a place called Dutch's, and they do breakfast sandwiches in the morning. So if I wake up early enough, I would get 2 bacon, egg, and cheese on a hard roll with butter, and I'd buy a big Gatorade, and that would take care of my hangover. So I'm right there with you, man. Eat carbs and hydrate like crazy.
Yeah. And another thing is that if anyone does have a heavy night, because, you know, a lot of pubs are opening up in areas, drink about 2 pints of water before you go to bed. The next day, you should be fine.
Another great point. See, we are about helping you guys out there. Yo, shout out to Fox Mulder. Jamie, he said this podcast is refreshing. And I think, Jamie, when me and you came together talking about this show, that was one of the things we were talking about, right? Like, we feel like this will be that place for the Xbox gamer to come and, you know, get excited and talk about everything Xbox and criticize when we have to, but not comparing any other platforms. Jamie, how do you feel about seeing that in the chat, man? That got me pumped right there.
I mean, it's good. I mean, look, for months and years now, we've had a lot of fake outrage to deal with. And, you know, I listen to a ton of podcasts that are really good. And, you know, it's easy to tell when people just lean into the negative Xbox stuff because, again, from the broad spectrum of things, there's nothing really bad to talk about. On every front, literally, no matter the platform, there's literally a whole generation of awesomeness coming. There's nothing to complain about. Like, again, like I was saying before, like the launch lineup, like Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed, like, and there's an RPG, dude. I'm getting 5 in the next 3 months. Like, I couldn't be more excited for gaming right now.
Nice, brother. And of course, guys, you can find me right here on my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. Me and Jamie will be here every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, to talk about Xbox. Not only that, every Thursday is the next podcast, and the next podcast deals with all the gaming news. You know, we talk about all the platforms, you know, people who are comparing this, that, or whatnot. That is where you will get the entire gaming news on this channel. So we have something for everybody when it comes down to it. So if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. But as usual, guys, you know, thank you again for hanging out with us. And I'm going to end the show the way I've noticed people like the way I end the show out, man. You know, it as always, keep it gaming and keep it Xbox. Have a great night, everybody.